So what is texture mapping? Okay, to illustrate this, what I have here is I have a 3D scene, simple 3D scene. I have a 3D object, which is a sphere in Photoshop, and I have an environment reflection. So when you have an object, this object has a material, and this material has different properties. And some of these properties are controlled by color, and some of them are controlled by slider. So for example, the diffuse, which is the color, so I can change the diffuse. That means I will change its color. So let's do that. You can see I can pick any color I want. I want to say OK. Now then, let's say I can control the reflection using this slider. So I'm controlling the amount of reflection in my object using this reflection slider. But now you can see I'm controlling everything from color, reflection, refraction, and everything else in the whole object entirely. So the whole object will be reflective or not reflective. The whole object will have a solid color, one exactly color, nothing else. Okay, now let's say I want to apply an image to this object. Now this is what's called texture mapping. Now instead of using a color or a slider, you use an image to drive a certain attribute with your material. For example, the diffuse can have RGB values, so an image you can apply it to diffuse. Okay, reflection as well, but for something else like bump, you need a grayscale image to control your bump. So let's see how we can control the diffuse. So I'll go ahead and load a texture. I'll be using this one, which is just a simple checker map. So let's just disable this. I'm going to load the texture, which is this one. Okay, so you can see I have a color now. So I'm controlling my color using this texture. So I'm applying this image to my object. So let's just try to render this so you can see here's my object being rendered with all the lighting and everything, and it's using my texture as a color. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove this texture, and I'll try to control a different attributes with the same texture. For example, the reflection. I'm going to load the texture, which is the same one. So you can see now when I have something like reflection and I have a grayscale image, so the black values will mean no reflection, and the white ones will mean you will have 100% reflectivity. So let's try to first of all, I'm going to change the color so you can see this better. You can see the black portions of the image, they're not reflective, and I have matte surface. And when I have white portions, they are fully reflective, and I have like a chrome surface. And this is still the same object. I'm not dividing it into multiple objects. So you can see this now. Okay, so you can control anything. For example, you can control the diffuse and the reflection using the same map as well. So you can do that. You can control, for example, the bump. You can see you can control almost all the attributes of the material in Photoshop. The only thing that you can't control is the refraction, and of course the ambient, because this is not something that uses UV object space. So let's try to control the bump with the same texture. Here's my texture, and you can see the bump is being controlled using the checker map. So this is what texture mapping means. It's just driving different attributes of your material using an image and not a slider or a color.